In China, there are numerous stories that are supposed to confuse our logic so that we come back in resonance with our true nature. One such story is the farmer and his son. The farmer and his son live in a small village and make their living from the farm. The father is a single parent. One day, while the father was working on the farm, his only horse found a broken part of the fence and ran away. Hearing this news, the village people came to console him by saying, "How unfortunate you are." He replied, "We'll see." The next day, his horse came home with 2 wild horses. The village people came to congratulate the farmer, saying, "How fortunate you are." He replied, "We'll see." The next day, his son was riding one of the wild horses and it threw him off, causing him to break his leg. The village people again came to console the farmer. "How unfortunate you are." He again replied, "We'll see." The next day, the conscription officers came to the village, seeking men for war. When they arrived at the farmer's house, they saw the son's broken leg was in a cast, so he could not go to war, nor could his father, because he was the boy's only parent, while the rest of the men in the village had to leave for war. As a result, all of the remaining women of the village came to the farmer and expressed their joy for them. "How fortunate you are," the farmer replied, "We'll see." As the months went on, the son healed but developed a terrible limp that impeded his walking. The village women came to console the farmer. "How unfortunate you are." He again replied, "We'll see." As the years went on, the war came to an end, but disaster had overcome the village because all of the men who went to war from the village died. But like 2 superheroes in shining armor, the farmer and his son could continue to maintain regular labor on the farm, which was more than enough to provide for all the women of the village. In excited response, the women came to express their joy to the farmer. "How fortunate we all are." Now we all know how the farmer replied, "We'll see." So what's the point of this story? Is there a point? The purpose of this story is to make you realize that there is no definite end or conclusion to life. The story articulates that everything is process. The farmer understood that everything was process, and it is why he never got carried away or thought that his perceived good and bad fortune were ends in themselves. He is a pure man of Zen, not being blown here and there by apparent circumstances that we believe are either good or bad from our subjective viewpoint. When we recognize this as the farmer did, we discover that there is no beginning or end to the story. It just goes on ad infinitum. The insight we realize from understanding that the universe is just natural process is that nothing is as it seems. We often emotionally get carried away with life's events as if they are ends in themselves. The story of the farmer and his son addresses such misunderstandings of life. The farmer knows nothing is as it seems and is never drawn into the temporary illusion of isolated events. He understands that there are no separate events. There is only interconnectivity. His consciousness is not stuck in the apparent duality of events that appear in the kaleidoscope of time. He has a sense of unity within himself, which is a state of perception that is cognizant of the inherent non-dual nature of the universe. This is oneness in its truest form, and it is the original understanding that arose in the East. Understanding the interconnectivity of everything and the consequent non-dual nature of the universe is the gift that the East gave the world, and continues to do so through their spiritual traditions. The way to come back in accord with this eternal reality requires a certain level of confusion for our common linear and logical state of mind that we continue to promote. As with the farmer and his son, the story is designed to puzzle your mind out of any conclusions as to what the story means. Instead, it evokes your natural mind, which is only process without finality. This art of puzzling the mind out of its usual linearity is a primary tool for fasting the mind back into its original enlightened nature.